after having taken over Stormwind and being kicked out by the GMs and, you know, hanging around with the Korkron Legion for a while, things kind of quieted down with the Hawktotem tribe after that. I can't really seem to remember any other, like, really major events that we went through together after that. I mean, we ran some old world raids for fun. We went from place to place. We recruited more people. Participated in a few more scuffles against the Alliance, but nothing really major like Grimful or the Korkron Legion going after Stormwind. It just kind of calmed down into like a slice of life sort of RP guild. And then the bombshell kind of dropped, and thusly began the chain of events that I kind of came to call the unraveling. Basically, one day we had guild meetings twice a week with the Hawktotem tribe. We were supposed to show up. Haranu would stand in the middle, and we would make the circle and sit down and go about our business as per usual. And then one week, Haranu wasn't there. And then he wasn't there for the other meeting that week either. And, we had protocol for this. If Haranu wasn't there, then we could rely on X, Y, and Z officer, and then Mundle was right under the officers because he was the vault keeper. So it wasn't as though we were completely helpless. But then time started to kind of drag on, and there was no sign of Haranu. Like, he just wasn't online at all. And we came to one of two conclusions. One was that he lost his internet or didn't pay his bill, or something happened to his house, something happened to him, and or we jokingly said he was actually some kid and he got grounded for life and got grounded from WoW, because that can happen sometimes. And Blizzard even included that in their patch notes for a reason to have guild, vice guild captains or whatever they are. The guild master and then the vice guild master, in case your guild master disappears or gets grounded for life. That was literally in the patch notes from Blizzard. And we laughed about it until one of our lieutenants kind of tracked Haranu down through emails and other social media kind of stuff, and found out that yes, our guild leader, the guy is so widely respected and celebrated across Moonguard, one of the most influential people on the server, was a high school freshman or a high school sophomore, and his grades were so bad in school that his parents grounded him from WoW for forever. And so all of us were kind of scratching our heads, and it's the reaction was very mixed. People were shocked because you don't know anything about people outside of WoW unless they tell you. That's kind of the end of that sentence. It's they could be from Alaska, they could be from Florida, they could be a taxi driver in New York, they could be a salad. They could be a chef in California. You have no idea. But to suddenly get this big block of information about our beloved guild leader turns out to be some 15, 16-year-old, and he pretty much commands the respect, honor, and sways the opinions of hundreds of other people because he's so active in the Moonguard community. We find out he's some 15, 16-year-old. And that his parents grounded him from WoW. We were like, ah! And there wasn't a whole lot of hate for it. It was he's some kid. Why the hell do we follow him around? There were some people like that. And, there were, other guilds didn't, distance themselves, but there was a lot of, talk and chatter, and, people talk on RP realms, and people wanted to know where Haranu was, and they wanted to speak with him and hold their regular guild leader kind of meetings to set out events. And of course it eventually got around what had happened, and eventually most of the Horde side of the server knew about this. And it wasn't really like an embarrassment to the Hawktotem tribe, but it was something like odd and unexpected, to where some of the lieutenants that were in the Hawktotem tribe decided that they didn't want to be led by like a quote unquote child. And I figure, if you're in an MMO, let your deeds do the talking, and it doesn't matter who you are in real life. That's why people play the opposite gender. That's why people play, villains, super villains. That's why people play, shooters, different things like that online, so they can, be something based entirely on their merits in that setting. And Haranu, no matter how young or old he was smart enough, diplomatic enough, and skilled enough that he rose to pretty much be one of the most respected people on the server, Alliance or Horde. Everybody knew his name. But some of the lieutenants decided that they didn't want to be led by a 16-year-old, so a bunch of people left the Hawktotem tribe, significantly shrinking our numbers into what I called shard guilds. When a guild gets too big, sometimes it can become overinflated and it might split into like sister guilds. Like we could have had, like you could have like the Stormwind Guard and then the Stormwind Militia, but they both have members that came from the same guild, so they're like sister guilds. But the Hawktotem, and this was like out of character, suddenly decided that they didn't want, a bunch of them decided they didn't want to be led around by, an aging Tauren shaman who wasn't even around at the meetings anymore. So they like sequestered themselves off into another guild called like the Ice, what was it, the Ice Hoof tribe or the Ice Walker tribe or something like that. They were more like Wrath of the Lich King oriented. They came, their RP was like that they spent most of their time in Northrend, or they did a lot of their fighting in Northrend, probably to be up to date at the time with like the high end part of the game, which wasn't the point of the Hawktotem tribe. But there were some people that wanted to do like in-game content, and this just kind of gave them the excuse to like shoot off without a whole lot of repercussions, because people understood. If you find out too much about your boss at work, or if you find out, just the wrong fact about your best friend, it can cause a kind of a gap or a canyon to open up between you. So, they found out who like quote unquote who he was and why he wasn't in the World of Warcraft anymore. A bunch of Hawktotem left and joined this like shard of what used to be all Hawktotem. And then, we had to do a guild purge after a while, because if people aren't on for X amount of time, we have to, sweep out the people who are inactive. And, they didn't do that to Haranu because he was the guild master and you can't throw him out. Otherwise, what's the point of being the leader? Or what's the point of the leader rank if you can just be thrown out by other members? But it got to be kind of slow. And, much like many other role-playing guilds in WoW, it just kind of slowly ground to a halt. After, several months, we kept the traditions. We held Sitting Circle twice a week. Mundle was still working the vault, and, we went on adventures, and we had battles against the Alliance, and we did, we moved our like, base camp to the Thunderbluff Gate. Since the Alliance was like so close to getting to Thunderbluff, we decided that we were going to stay like semi-permanently there at the gate in case they should decide to attack. So if you didn't want to like run around and quest, you would kind of hang out at the Thunderbluff Gate so that Alliance couldn't get past us and get to Thunderbluff. And now and then you'd see somebody trying to get like the World Explorer achievement or whatever, and we'd kill them until they left and things like that. And we were very territorial, because that was the only way for the Alliance to get into Mulgore up until Cataclysm, when you could fly everywhere, which was garbage. But with Hiranu's absence and a bunch of Hawktotem leaving and things like just kind of slowing down, the lieutenants did their damnedest to keep things together. We waited for a long time for Hiranu's return, but it really never came. And the whole thing with him in real life doing poorly in school, he eventually got his grades back up, and he did come back. Like months and months later, but by then, the damage was done, and people were gone or moved on to other guilds or joined the Korkron Legion. I had, another character who was I think a Tauren druid who just happened to have PvP gear, because I love to PvP as a Moonkin druid because I suck at meleeing in PvP, but yeah, I had a character in the Korkron Legion for a long time, just waiting for Haranu to come back, because I had, Mundell was done with all of his level 60 stuff, and he actually went up through level 70 and, up through level 80, grabbing more blacksmithing stuff. It wasn't anything like it was at the beginning, with me getting everything and going everywhere, because the game, Burning Crusade and Wrath of the Lich King weren't designed that way. They were more streamlined and like, do you have this reputation? Yes? Okay, here's your blacksmithing recipe. It got to be more like that. It wasn't nearly as fun. And I don't want to go off on a rant about, oh WoW has changed so much, and it's so streamlined and easy now, and the game's turned to shit, and all that stuff, and everybody had their own reason to leave WoW after a while, which is why it's kind of deflating back down. I'm not saying WoW is dying, because it's not. It's still got millions of people playing, but it is deflating slowly over time. And by the time Haranu got back to kind of take the reins again, the Hawktotem tribe was all but gone. Even, and I came back as Mundell, after X amount of time, and when Haranu came back, word went around the server really quick, and the veterans recognized the name and flocked to see him and see how things were and what he was going to do next. And he went on to I think he headed the Hawktotem tribe for a little while, and then saw that there was really no way to like restore it back to its former glory, because too many people were gone, or had quit the game, or were doing other things, or had like readjusted their in-game goals and things like that. So, as often happens when a guild leader disappears, whether they get grounded for life or lose their internet for a month or whatever, the guild kind of fell apart. So, it seems like a sad ending, but it's really not, because we were together for like over a year. And that's really impressive for a WoW, for a World of Warcraft guild, because, guilds can come and go in a matter of months, and there's, guilds that are trying to do 10-man raids, there's guilds that are, RP guilds for druids only, or there's guilds that are hardcore PvP, you're in the army now, like the Korkron Legion. There's all manner of guilds. The Hawktotem lasted for a very, very long time. I mean, we had ally guilds that just came and went, and we were constantly adjusting who was there, who wasn't, purging members, bringing new members in, and just like slowly growing and growing. And then as soon as our guild leader was kind of exposed, I guess, as a young teenager, and then gone for months and months, it just kind of fell apart without him. So it was kind of tragic, but at the same time, we had kind of done everything that an RP guild was going to do at that point, and we weren't raiders, we weren't PvPers so much. We were a nomadic tribe. Eventually, nomads find a place to stay, or they find a home, and they're done being nomads. So that's kind of what went down with the Hawktotem tribe, is that we settled, back from whence we came in the region of Mulgore, and we decided to stay there and protect Thunder Bluff. And that was kind of the end of the Hawktotem tribe. We traveled around. We found, wonderful people, brothers and sisters, more Tauren than you can shake a stick at, and just from a personal standpoint, like female Tauren are almost as rare as female dwarves in World of Warcraft. So, we had all the women's, LOL. So, but yeah, after like going out, and we would stay in a region for a few weeks and then move to another, and stay in a region for a few weeks and move to another, we eventually looped back to Mulgore from whence we came. So it was kind of like we came full circle. It was like when Haranu came along and pulled the Hawktotem together, and we rose to power, and we conquered Stormwind, and we did this and we did that, and eventually we were just, dropped right back off at home again. So it was kind of like like I said, we just kind of went full circle. And by the time Haranu was gone, we were all stronger people. We were all, optimum level with the highest crafting stuff, achievements, and all these wonderful memories. Like I've been talking for like almost 3 hours, close to 3 hours now, and I will never forget. Like if I, and I hate WoW now. In its current form, WoW is garbage to me. I can't stand it. But I will always look back at like the era between like Wrath of the Lich King and the beginning of Cataclysm as like the Hawktotem era for me. Playing WoW was some of the best times I have ever had in an MMO, and I've done other stuff in WoW. I've raided the Lich King. I've farmed the hell out of Karazhan and Gruul's Lair and freaking Crusaders Coliseum, and all these raid places, and I've led armies through the snowy battleground, whatever it's called. Not Alterac Valley, but there was a snowy battleground with 50 million little things you could do on it, and I figured out how to kind of circumvent the Alliance's Zerg rush kind of thing, and led people into battle. I've done the various aspects of WoW other than like arena fighting, because I hated arenas and I was terrible at them. So it wasn't just that I was just there like role-playing and dinking around the whole time. It's just that the Hawktotem, you paid for the game, but you stayed for the people. That's kind of all that held me to WoW for a long time, was that I got so bored with how the game was and how much easier it was getting, how much more streamlined it was getting, and how much it was like just changing and changing and changing and getting worse and worse and worse over time. But the people, I will never forget the people. I will never forget, Haranu, Maiachi, Segapo, Grimful, fucking Grimful, just the Korkron Legion. I will always remember them. I just have this wonderful set of memories that has almost nothing to do with the game itself. It's not about, remember the time we downed the Lich King, or do you remember the time we owned face in Alterac Valley? It wasn't the time, we got, this epic, N-tier set of armor for everybody in our guild. No, it was about, do you remember sitting around the campfire? Do you remember going to so-and-so's like RP wedding? Do you remember the time we went to the beach and danced and had elves in bikinis? Do you remember when we conquered Stormwind? It was all fun of our own making that had almost nothing to do with the game's like mechanics. And it's, I hated to see it go. I hated to see WoW change so much, but goddamn, those are some of the best times I've ever had in gaming, and gaming in general. Not just like online gaming, but like compared to D&D or some of these games behind me. Just Magic the Gathering, things like that. The Hawktotem were probably some of the best like months of gaming in general that I ever had, and I will treasure those memories forever. So I'm glad I had time to, or I had the memory and the thought and the willpower to like relate all this to you, because it was the best. It was almost like, it was almost like looking back on your high school years, or looking back on your college dorm life or things like that. This was like the golden years of gaming for me. It was just amazing. Well, I am exhausted having related all that out to you for the first episode of the season. So that is all I have to say about the legend of the Hawktotem tribe, and I will see you guys on the next D&D stories. Keep gaming.